Welcome to Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, relationships create that tapestry of extraordinary experience. And on the last video, I talked about stop dating without direction. And I provided some insight in that video. And if you can take the opportunity to go back and see it, if you just happen to be seeing this one first and go back and look at that one, definitely a lot of great and insightful information. But what does direction actually look like? Because you always hear people giving you advice. There's so much open advice, free range advice on YouTube where people provide you with questions and statements and opinions that you very rarely get the solution that you're looking for. So I want to take the time to stop, think about it, and provide you some sort of direction that we definitely need to be thinking about and going in terms of the relationships that people are dealing with right now. So if you're taking a look at the channel, I talk a lot about relationships, but what a real relationship plan actually looks like is what is going to be more into the situation that you're involved in. So as we look at this, many people will say that they want a relationship. They want a relationship. Very few people have an actual plan of action behind that. But everybody wants something real. But when you ask them the plan, everybody gets quiet. They get quiet because they don't have the information to take and run with other than opinions of people leading them down a false and dark path. Then when we look at today's standards, people base their dating standards under the first part of how they feel about someone because they feel like this is the person that they are supposed to be with. One of the second things that they look at is people look at how attractive that person is. So attraction is another point that people often see the most because when they see somebody that is attractive, then they feel that they should be dating that person. So they therefore go after the number. So fellas, you see a lady that looks good, got on the right makeup, the right outfit, you are seeing the physical presence of what she looks like, not how she wakes up looking like, but what she put on to make her attractive, which is attracted you. So now you're basing that off of feelings. And that goes both ways. The women see the men with vehicles or money or the assumption that they do have some type of money or they may have a high six-figure job and they feel that they should be a part of that lifestyle based on what that man is actually presenting in front of them right there. So we can go from they feel that this is the right move. And when you look at both sides, it's the convenience. It'll be convenient for one person to take advantage of another person in regards to what they bring to the table. So, ladies, rather than you just looking at the financial aspect of the relationship, instead of figuring out what type of job that they work, because you can't name the position that they're actually in based on what they have. But when you look at are they employed and do they have some type of job, is what we need to be looking for. Fellas, it's not how the lady physically looks. It's okay. We all supposed to be in shape. I definitely want everybody healthy and in shape for sure. What person would not like that? But ladies, you know that you're not looking the same way that you position yourself in public. You're not looking that way when you go to sleep at night. So, do the men want to see women more in their natural state? Absolutely. Because it's like both people are lying to each other. People are pretending that they have everything and they don't. Pretend they have just because they have a nice car that you assume that they got a nice home and they got money saved and invested in all that stuff. No. Ladies, you're pretending to be something that you're not. You're putting on all this makeup and all this extra hair and all this extra stuff. And these men see that and they don't ask the right question. They get with you, wake up next to you a couple of months later down the line, and we realize this person is nowhere close to who I thought they were, because we conveniently fell for the attraction. Attraction, feelings, convenience. And we have to choose better. And that's not a plan. That is just a motion. That's a state of motion that you are in right now. So when we look at the real plan, let's go ahead and lay this out so we can be crystal clear about everything. And let's go ahead and break this down. When we look at the first thing in regards to direction, we have to ask ourselves, where is this going? Is marriage long term coming out of this relationship? Is this just a long term relationship, non marriage? Both of you staying single, you just dating, or forever engagement? Because one of you may be thinking something different than the other person. So, ladies, the men that you all are chasing afterwards, do they want to even marry you? Have these conversations even came up? Fellas, you're seeing somebody that you're attracted to based on how they look. Is your intentions just to date them, or is your intentions just to marry them? So find out what that direction is first. Once you find that out, we look at our second part, the timeline. How many people do you know who have been engaged for a number of years and still have not jumped the broom? So when you look at this, we don't need you to rush this. So the timeline is not rushed, but it's not open ended. You need to have a set point in whatever direction that you're going in. What is the estimated timeline? When you take your vehicle to the shop, you have a certain time that you want this to be done. You go somewhere or traveling somewhere, you want to know what's your starting point, what's your end point? How far are you trying to make it? This is real talk, people. We have to have these conversations out here. I want you all to have more of these conversations out here. Once you have that, you move to that third part. That third part we're looking at is the communication. You don't have to be a PhD to have an insightful conversation with the person that you're with. You basically have to have clear conversations early in the simplest fashion. And see, people like to say so many words or play word games and semantics and all this stuff, but the basic questions is what you need to have first. And see, I don't expect the younger teenagers, the college students to understand a lot of this. But a lot of the grown folks should most definitely know better. Especially if you in your 30s, 30 to 39, you should have been had these conversations. And if you're in your 40s, shame on you just now figuring all of this out. And see, people are kids in their teens, in their 20s, from 20 to 29. You're just trying to figure it out. You're going out doing God knows what, reckless. 30 should be starting to look for a sense of direction. And 40, you shouldn't be still playing those young kid games. But depending on the direction that you want to go determines what your outcome should be. And both of you, fellas, ladies, both of you should be asking these pressing questions. I'm not making this one sided. Both of you should be asking these questions. And when you're having that communication, the fourth thing is going to be stability. And stability is, are you financially responsible? Notice I didn't mention anything about six-figure jobs. Ladies, the men that you trying to date, all of them do not need a six-figure job to run a household. That is absolutely not necessary. But we have seen so many rampant videos online and social media pitching the idea that this is what men have to have and have to bring to the table. Because here's reality: the women, you're not bringing six figures to the table to begin with anyway. So let's be real with one another. I'm asking the question: if both of you have jobs, you're W-2 employees working for some company. I don't care if one of you a bank teller, one of you a manager at a local restaurant, but can you bring your salaries together to make your household work? Basic, starting basic, keeping it simple. Are you stable in regards to your emotions? Because if our emotions are good, we can have a stable lifestyle, be able to bring money into the home, income, pay for the expenses that we need, and hopefully have something to put away for an emergency, or if you have to travel somewhere or something. Think about it. Look at the old sitcoms that we had coming up. I always like to bring them up. Look at the jobs that they had in those sitcoms. And ask yourself, with the sitcoms that we have today, everybody's making big money, six figures, millions of dollars. Back in the old days in the sitcoms, people didn't have all that. They didn't. And so we have to make sure that we are in alignment, because these are the things that we have to have in order to move forward in relationships that we're in. And when we look at another point, and this will be our last point here, the fifth thing is our growth. How are we growing? Are we progressing, or are we just existing where we are right now? And so, fellas, if there is a particular thing that you want to expand on, maybe you may want to open up a business, you may want to expand into a trade. Are you making the moves to do that, and how would it benefit your household if you are with somebody? Ladies, if you are not intending to work and you expect to be retired early, what's the purpose of you going to school to begin with anyway, if you're looking to be retired early on? And what do you bring to the table in the relationship? Because if you're expecting for the man that you are dealing with to pay for everything, then what are the stipulations at home in the household? What is it that you would be doing? Would you consider yourself an asset in the situation, or a liability in the situation? Because the men, they're looking for peace. They want to be able to come home to peace, and they're going to do what they need to do in order to get that. Now, now that you have those 5 points in that plan, the next thing that you have to ask yourself is this real or is this fake, of all the stuff that we're doing out here? Because the fake plan is, we'll just see where it goes. That means you have no intentions of any accountability whatsoever. Neither one of you. Let's just vibe. Let's just chill out. You obviously don't care what happens. But a real plan is, here is what I'm building. When you step into the relationship and step to date that person, here is what I am bringing to the table. This is what I'm going to be doing. Maybe we need to start laying contracts out in these relationships. Here's what I'm looking for. Ladies, if you have the expectations, here's what I'm looking for. If you expect that man to have these set of credentials and these set of ideas and this type of money that you're talking about, then he at the same time has to have standards of what he expects from you. So you all, I think it's perfectly fine for you all to have standards for each other. So ladies, have your standards. Fellas, have your standards. If y'all match, make it work. If not, move on. Move on to somebody who is going to fall for what you're looking for. And so if you didn't get anything else that I was talking about here in this video today, I want you to keep this in mind. A real relationship isn't confusing at all. It has direction, it has structure, and it has intention in where it is supposed to go. So most definitely, people, like, listen, subscribe to the channel. Lifestyle by SK, with wine, cigars, relationship, and sometimes coffee create that tapestry of extraordinary experience. Definitely hit me up in the comments below. I definitely want this conversation to go further and want us to really get more into these topics, because I think that they are perfectly healthy for us to have in these successful relationships. Because what I want people is, I want to see people in successful, functional relationships that's going to continuously create generation after generation after generation. Subscribe.